Okay, President Proctor, go ahead.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to the San Mateo-Foster City School District Board of Trustees meeting. Today is April 28th, 2022, and I'm calling the meeting to order at 5 o'clock p.m. We are going to recess to closed session where we will discuss item 2.1, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Discipline Dismissal Release, and item 2.2, Conference with Legal Counsel, Anticipated Litigation, Significant Exposure to Litigation pursuant to Section 54956.9B, one case. And we will be back around 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
President Proctor, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. We are reconvening to our regular meeting. I have one item to read out from closed session. This is so by a unanimous vote of all trustees present to approve and give notice of non-reelection to one first-year probationary certificated administrator employee effective the close of the 2021-2022 school year. So that was the release of probationary certificated administrator. So that is our one item to read out, and we will be returning to closed session after we finish the regular session. So we can now go on to item 3.2, which is the flag salute. So please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, that's tricky with the echo. Okay, we will go on to item number 3.3, which is roll call. Trustee Warren.
Yes.
Trustee Watkins.
Here.
Trustee Corzo. You can say here on my screen.
I'm here.
Trustee Chin.
I'm here, yes.
And I am here also. Okay, moving on to item 3.4, approval of agenda for the April 28th, 2022 meeting.
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Watkins for the motion and Trustee Chin for the second. All in favor, please unmute and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We will move on to item 3.5, approval of the minutes for the April 14th, 2022 meeting.
Motion to approve.
I'll second. So Trustee Chin with the motion and I second. All in favor, please unmute and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We will move on to item 4.1. Public statements related to non-agenda topics. The San Mateo-Foster City School Board cannot act upon any matter that has not been included and publicly posted on the agenda, except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. The board may refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and/or action. Where appropriate, please limit your statements to 3 minutes. And we do have a couple of members in the audience here, and if we want to make a public statement, okay. So Peter, would you mind checking with the Zoom audience, please?
Absolutely. If there are any members in the audience of Zoom that would like to make comment and have never done this before, please use the raise your hand functionality. I will call upon you one at a time and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Okay. President Proctor, we have no hands for public comment on non-agendized items.
Okay, thank you. Item 4.2 is public statements related to agenda items. Persons will be called upon at the appropriate time. So we can go on to item 4.3, which is foundation and committee reports. Anyone have a report to share?
I attended the CDAC meeting on Tuesday, and we went over the LCAP and gave parent input, stuff like that.
This past week, or past couple of weeks, we had an educator housing meeting with other members in San Mateo County, talking about the progress of educator housing in Pacifica, I think at Jefferson, and some other housing developments outside of our county. And it was a really good meeting. It was almost like another kickoff because it was sort of been on pause because of COVID. But we had agreed that we'll probably continue to meet probably every other month as we move forward. Or is it monthly? Oh, thank you, Trustee Corso. I think it's monthly. So it's basically highlighting or let me see how I want to put this. It was a big topic of conversation before the pandemic, and we essentially took a pause, and now it is coming back, and it is still on the table and to be talked about. So additionally, I went to a San Mateo County School Board Association meeting. That was very good. They talked about recruiting and attracting and staff shortages throughout the county. And so we had lots of discussions about that and discussed ways to try and attract and retain our own staff and teachers. Additionally, today we had a sanctuary task force meeting where we talked about, we had an MTSS update and the rollout of that. We also talked about next month on May 1st, or the whole month of May is Asian American or Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And so we had a discussion about that. And I guess there's going to be a flyer that's going to come out. And also there was a question about Cinco de Mayo. And there was a very good conversations about the sometimes misconceptions about these sort of holidays and these recognitions, and what can the Sanctuary Task Force do to highlight and educate everyone about them. And in some ways, they sort of have developed into different, they mean different things to different generations in some ways, as discussed. We also talked about our translation services and how do we further support families who are going to SSTs or IEPs with translation, and whether or not we can actually support them in other ways as well. So there's a really good, healthy conversation, a working group conversation about how we improve that process district-wide. So there'll be more to come to that, but that's my report for those three committees.
I will just add to those. One of the topics that was also highlighted in the San Mateo County School Board Association meeting was Jefferson Union High School District and their efforts around housing and how they built some housing on their school district land and how that has benefited and created a revenue stream, and staff and teacher housing for their school district and attracting and retaining teachers. And yeah, I think that's all that I was going to add to that piece.
I attended the Equity Task Force meeting earlier this week. The Equity Task Force continues to look at board policies pertaining to discipline, and there's lots of them. This past week, the focus was around bullying and looking at both the BP and AR for bullying, and again, really thinking about restorative practices and how we're supporting students to learn and grow from these opportunities or from these instances. There was also a hearty conversation around kind of cyberbullying and the online implications of bullying. So I know that those policies will be coming back to, we'll be starting to come back to the board probably soon, I think, some of them, as they get the feedback from the groups and make adjustments. So exciting work. I also attended the Ed Foundation meeting, and one of the highlights, or one of the things that we talked a bit about, was the gala, which is coming up in October. I think the date this year is October 21st. So getting together a committee to support that work. So if anybody online is interested in being involved in the gala, please reach out to me. Trustee Proctor, I believe, is going to be my partner in crime on that this year. And we have a good team that we're pulling together to support that work. So deciding whether or not it's going to be a hybrid, or sorry, virtual or in person, and all of those sorts of logistics, but more information to come on that in the next little bit.
Thank you for all of those updates. We can now move on to
President
item
Parker,
4. Oh, yes.
my apologies. We have a representative from the Ed Foundation.
Oh, perfect. Let's do it.
Hello, thank you for having me tonight. I wanted to come to the board meeting tonight to thank you, amazing board members, thank our amazing board members in PTA who work together to ensure that our students have an amazing education. I especially wanted to thank a new sponsor tonight, which is Adobe, for their generous donation of $20,000. That grant is going to be instrumental in helping ensure that students who want to go to outdoor education will have the funds needed to ensure that they can attend. I also wanted to make a couple of announcements. The 2022 Gala Committee will be meeting this Monday, the 2nd, and the 2023 Readathon Committee will be meeting Tuesday, the 3rd. If you are interested in joining the amazing committees that bring such good works and much needed funds to the district, please let us know. We welcome any and all people who would like to volunteer for those positions. We are also currently looking for board members, and we have officer seats as well as committee seats open. We are particularly looking for a treasurer. So if anybody has a burning desire to be a treasurer for the Education Foundation, we would welcome learning more about you and having you join the committee. And if you know of any businesses or own a business who would like to make a difference in our community, please let us know. Our contact information is on our website, and we're always looking for anyone who wants to share their expertise. Some people don't really recognize themselves as superstars, but I will tell you that the board is made up of so many different people from so many different walks of life and part of the world, and we all come together for the one common cause, which is to ensure our students have a great education. So please come out of your shell, join us. I think you will have a great time, and you won't be disappointed. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for that. Trustee Corzo, would you mind making the translation announcement? Thank you.
Bienvenidos. Si ocupan traducción, por favor levanten la mano, o también pueden hacer clic en su pantalla en el mundo y ahí pueden cambiar la idioma a español. Gracias.
Thank you. Okay, so now we can move on to item 4.4, which is the SMETA CSEA SNEA updates.
Julie, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I am excited to let you know that as of 5 o'clock this evening, our association has voted to ratify the tentative agreement that we achieved with the district. So again, thank you everyone for your collaboration, and we're looking forward to having it come to you at whatever meeting meets the timelines. So thank you for that. We are also really excited next week to engage in LCAP engagement with Ed Services and to sort of review the strategic plan and share our perspective on some priorities for the district. So we are appreciative of that opportunity and look forward to it. And then lastly, I just want to publicly honor 2 of the teachers in our district. Jennifer Young, who actually is no longer with our district, but was with our district for the majority of the year, and Yao from College Park are going to be honored by CTA at the Golden Gate Service Center, WHO Awards for their work in SMETA's Human Rights and Equity. On our Human Rights and Equity Committee. So with the district and with surrounding districts, they've worked really hard to provide educational resources to teachers for tough conversations. They've offered a place and has facilitated some really great discussions. And I wanted to let you guys know that they're going to be honored at the CTA level for their work. So we're really incredibly proud of them and happy that they're going to receive this award. And other than that, all I can say is 7 more COVID pool tests till the end of the year.
Catherine, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really honored to be here as the representative of SMEA, and I'm representing College Park, and I'm really proud of Yao. Thank you for sharing that, Julie. This is a very busy, exciting time of year for us at all of our sites because we're wrapping up this school year, lots of activity still, and we're getting ready for next year. So it's a really, really busy time. I wanted to share a little bit about some highlights at College Park, and then I'll talk about some things in the district that are going on. Recently, we had our Panda Fest at College Park, which is a big festival that we have. It's our first big event that we've actually had in person, and it was very well attended. People were really happy to get together and be in person. We had performances, we had games, a dessert contest. We had a poster contest because we connected it with Earth Day. We had local beekeepers and Rethink Waste. It was wonderful. And the parents and the staff and the students that put all the work into putting that together, it was just incredible. In our Mandarin program, we're reinstating our STAMP test, which is a test that we'll use at 4th and 5th grade, and that'll give us a measure of how students are doing so that we can share with them individually, but we can also use that to gauge how our program is doing. And we're working closely with the assessment department to get our Mandarin reporting tool onto Illuminate, along with the English report card. We just celebrated 2 Mandarin adult classes. We had 20 adults that took beginning and intermediate, and then they actually got together and celebrated and filmed a puppet show showing what they had learned in Mandarin. And the idea of these classes is to just give parents kind of a taste and experience with what their kids are learning. We just recently connected with GATE, the families that have been invited to GATE, and that was a wonderful experience getting to know them. We've been in touch with our kinders, and soon we'll be sending out a survey to them to determine students that have no or limited exposure to Mandarin so that we can invite them to our 2-week Kickstart program in the summer. We're also going to start work with Be the Change. We're going to have our first session on June 8th, and then we're hoping that we'll move into next year and the following year. Our graduation is June 14th at 9 o'clock. An open house is June 7th from 5 to 6:30. Feel free to stop by. We'd love to have you. Some things that are happening in the district. There are so many things going on that we can all be proud of. The strategic planning process, which is really exciting and is really focusing on us on equity. The construction, the HVAC work that's happening, we're excited about. Testing is coming up. We're finishing up the LPAC. We're getting ready for the CASP. So we really appreciate the district's support and the site level work that's gone on with that. Obviously, the COVID, all of the COVID measures that we have in place and the work that Stephanie Gibson does and Susie Riley and the administrative assistants and all the teachers out in the schools. Footsteps to Brilliance in ST Math, which you've talked about before, and the community outreach folks that are trying to encourage parents to use those resources. The North Central School Project, which is really exciting, and College Park is happy to be proud of that project, happy to be part of the project. And then on May 11th, we have a Lego visit coming up, connected to the Lego project. that the district is working on. A group of us will be going down to visit that. A few shout outs, support for those that help to cover classrooms. Gina Perez is up bright and early every morning trying to make sure she covers classes. TOSAs, principals, other staff members step in, district office folks step in to cover those classes. So we really appreciate that. We appreciate, I want to shout out to Chad Slife, the principal at LEAD. He just kicked off instructional rounds again. So there was a group that went over to LEAD and learned about LEAD and visited some classes. So that's exciting. Also, the progressive discipline matrix that has been drafted and the district is working on finalize that. Would like to shout out to Margaret Heredia and those that are working on that. And then the district's focus on trying to provide some additional infrastructure at the district through TOSAs and directors and all that to kind of fine tune the work a little bit. So I think we should all be proud. Lots of exciting things going on. And we wish everybody a good last few weeks of school. Thank you.
Do we have anyone from CSEA tonight?
Not tonight.
Okay. Just thank you, Julie and Catherine, for those updates, and just wanted to again thank and congratulate SMETA folks and the district folks that came to that agreement, and looking forward to voting on that next time. And also wanted to congratulate Jennifer Young and Yao for their accomplishments and for their awards. So thank you. And we can move on to item 4.5, announcements. I can share a couple of things. One is that I attended the Bowditch performance at Cinderella. Show everybody. It was really great again to see live performance on stage with students who have worked really, really hard and have been practicing for a while. So just wanted to give a shout out to those students and encourage everyone to continue to invite us to live performances, because it's really great to see, and especially after the last 2 years where we haven't really gotten a chance to do that. And then I hope I can share this with everyone. I'm on the board of Star Vista, which is also a community partner of the district. I just wanted to let everyone know that first of all, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and on May 22nd, it's a Sunday from noon to 4. Star Vista is going to have a free event. It's open to everybody. It's at Ryder Park in San Mateo, and it is Mental Health Matters Walk. And so it's an event where they will focus on mental health and have guest speakers and food and activities like yoga and crafts and all kinds of things. And so it's open to everyone, and hopefully it's a nice day out in the park.
I'd like to make an announcement. Today is Holocaust Memorial Day. They celebrate it twice a year. There's one in the fall, which is kind of what we like Americans celebrate, but this is more than just Holocaust. This is the martyrs and those that died in the Holocaust. And I just want to read a quote from Winston Churchill that I think sums up what this day means. Free men and women denounce these vile crimes, and when this world struggle ends with the enthronement of human rights, racial persecution will be ended. And I think that's, was valid then, and I think it's valid now. So just wanted to take a moment to recognize just kind of the gravity of today.
Thank you for sharing that. If there are no other announcements, then we will move on to item 4.6, Superintendent Report.
Thank you for that, Trustee Warren, and thank you, President Proctor. A couple of items I want to touch on tonight. The first is earlier this week was Administrative Professionals Day. So I want to take this opportunity to recognize somebody who's at all of our school board meetings. She is the administrative assistant to the superintendent. Her name is Tatiana Sandoval, Tatiana is being recognized by me tonight because of her excellence, because of her attentiveness to the families that call the district office, and because of her tremendous positive attitude and the work that she does. I'm very lucky to be able to recognize her in this way, but it really was very heartwarming to see all of our administrative professionals be recognized throughout the district this week. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of our administrative professionals, Reem, Gloria, Anna. The list is too long. I'm going to forget many, many people, but just, you know who you are. You're all really wonderful. So I just wanted to honor you and recognize you all. A huge congratulations to our SMETA bargaining team, Lisa Fahey, our teacher union president, Julie MacArthur, on the district side, and their team, and on our district side, Sue Weiser, Dr. Christian Rubalcaba, Pam Bartfield, and so many others who participated in the process. It's a big achievement, and just really proud to work with you all. Tonight, I want to talk about two data pieces in my report, and it is data that pertains to student activity on the weekends in terms of their reading at home. So what's really exciting about how we manage and operate the Footsteps of Brilliance program is we can give reports that show us student reading behaviors in the program at home on the weekends. So super excited to report that during the weekend of April 9th and 10th, we had a report that indicated that students at Sunnybray Elementary read 7 books that weekend. So we have staff that works here at the district office, our community service specialists that were mentioned by Dr. Singh, the principal of College Park. And basically what they do is they pick up the phone and they call families and they say, how can we help you access this program? What can we do to support you at home? What we're finding out is many families still need assistance with Wi-Fi access. Many families still need a device to come home. Many families need assistance getting on the website and logging their children in so that they can use the program. And thanks to their efforts, just a couple of weeks later, I'm proud to announce that the Sunnybray students went from reading 7 books over the weekend 2 weeks ago to reading 203 books over the weekend just this last weekend. So we're super excited about that. And there are data for every school. So other schools had 100 books, 90 books, 80 books. What we want is we want children who are learning to read at home, after school, and on the weekends. So it's super important that we acknowledge schools when they do that and celebrate them when they do that. And I want to call out the staff at Sunnybray, the leadership at Sunnybray, and certainly our 2 community service specialists who make those phone calls, as well as the community service specialists that work at Sunnybray, who have done a wonderful job. Looking forward to making a much more thorough report to the board in June, to be able to illustrate how this process has unfolded over the last 4 months. And that is my report.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to item 5, proposed consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by the board in one motion in the form listed below. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items be removed and discussed from the consent agenda. The superintendent and staff recommend approval of all consent items. Movement of any recommended consent item is appropriate at this time. Is there anyone that would like to remove an item?
I'd like to remove item 5.4.1.
Anyone else on the board? Would anyone in the audience like to remove any items from the consent agenda? Okay, Peter, can you check with the Zoom audience, please?
Absolutely. If there are any members of our Zoom audience that would like to make public comment on one of the agenda items tonight, please use the raise your hand functionality within Zoom now. I'll call upon you and ask you which specific agenda item you would like to make public comment on. President Proctor, we have no hands for public comment on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion on what we have?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda without item 5.4.1.
I will second.
Thank you, Trustee Chin for the motion and Trustee Watkins for the second. All in favor, please unmute and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the consent agenda minus 5.4.1 has been approved. We can now move on to item 5.4.1. No discussion needed, it sounds like. Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 5.4.1.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Chin for the motion and Trustee Watkins for the second. All in favor, please unmute and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay,
And
5.4.
President Proctor, we do have administrators on the call. Peter, if you can work with me here for a minute, we're going to start with a quick introduction of administrators who were brought forward to this item this evening. The first is our Director of English Learner Services, Aleida Barrera Cruz. We're pleased to welcome Aleida back to the San Mateo-Foster City School District, where she was principal for 3 years. She's currently the principal at El Carmelo Elementary School, which is a school in Palo Alto Unified School District, and she brings experience as a former Spanish immersion teacher. Peter, if you could invite Aleida up to say just a few words.
Good evening, San Mateo-Foster City Board of Trustees and Superintendent Ochoa. I just want to thank you for this opportunity to come back to the district in this new role as Director of English Learner Services. It's truly an honor to come back to the district. I started my career, as Superintendent Ochoa said, as a Spanish immersion teacher. I am an English learner myself, and so supporting our multilingual learners and their families is truly a passion of mine. And I've enjoyed doing it all of my career here in the district prior and in other districts. So I truly look forward to collaborating with administrators, teachers, parents, and the entire community in support of our English learners. So thank you everyone for this wonderful opportunity. And I look forward to coming back and starting the work.
Thank you, Aleida. Very, very pleased to have you back. We also have this evening Casey Brennan. I see Casey now, she's online already. Casey is starting as a special education coordinator. We're very pleased about that. She's currently a program specialist in our special education department and prior worked as a special education teacher in our district as well. She has been building her leadership experience as the summer school lead for the extended school year program as well. So Casey, please unmute. Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Hi, everybody. I want to say thank you. I've been in the district now for 3 years, and I have such a passion for supporting our students and our families in San Mateo, Foster City. I look forward to this opportunity. I'd like to thank the board. I'd like to thank Superintendent Ochoa for giving me that opportunity to continue in this leadership role. And I'm just eager and so excited about this next school year and look forward to everything that is going to unfold, and I'm excited to be a part of the team. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Casey. Next, we're going to introduce the new principal of Laurel Elementary School. His name is Nelson Hunter. Nelson is a current administrator in the district at Bayside Academy, and prior to that was assistant principal at Audubon Elementary School. He has several years experience as an assistant principal in both the Sunnyvale and Ravenswood school districts as well. He worked as a teacher in the Juntos dual immersion program in East Palo Alto. And we're very, very glad to have Nelson on as our new principal at Laurel. Nelson, if you can unmute and say a few words.
Absolutely. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Ochoa. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for the opportunity to serve as a principal of Laurel Elementary School. I am ecstatic to begin and look forward to working together with our school community to support our students and families this upcoming school year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nelson. Nelson gets extra points for being brief. Excellent work. We have two members of the public who are here in person, so I'm going to ask these two individuals to come and join us at the podium here in front before we acknowledge the next individual. And the next individual is just going to wait just a couple of minutes until her supporters here get an opportunity to talk about her. And that is, of course, Justine Maury, our new principal at George Hall Elementary School. And with that, I'll turn it over to our audience member.
Hi, I'm Christine Ugren, and I just wanted to say congratulations to Justine and the George Hall community. She's very invested in that community, and she will do great things and continue the work there for students and parents and staff.
I'm glad you had the opportunity to give her those warm wishes. Justine came in to this process and really just did a wonderful job. There you are, Justine. There was a lot of behind the scenes texting going on saying, let's get her in, let's get her into the meeting. But Justine Maury is with us tonight. Justine has been a member of the district community for many years. She was a teacher at George Hall. She has led the district's summer school program for the three most recent years. In addition to that, she served as a language and literacy teacher on special assignment at Beresford Elementary this year. I'm very pleased to introduce the new principal of George Hall, Justine Maury.
Good evening. Good evening, Superintendent Ochoa and Board of Trustees. Thank you for this opportunity to support such a special school. I feel a deep connection to George Hall and their community, and I really resonate with the work that they are doing to create a more kind, inclusive, student-centered learning environment for all students. I am excited to reconnect with my George Hall family, and I look forward to leading us in this coming school year. Thank you so much.
And President Proctor, those are all the introductions we have for tonight.
Okay, thank you so much. I was just going to summarize it. 5.4.1 passes with 4 yeses and 1 abstention. Give me 1 second to pull up my agenda. Okay. We can now move on to item 6.1, approval of proposal to initiate relocation of College Park Elementary School and Fiesta Gardens International School effective August 2025.
Thank you, President Proctor. Today's presentation, or this evening's presentation to the board, is a follow-up to our special board meeting presentation. There have been updates and changes to the document that I'll summarize for the board this evening. In just a minute here, I'll share my screen so that members of the public will be able to view as well. I'll just take a minute here. There we go. All right. The school board held a meeting earlier this week to discuss this proposal. Among the takeaways for the proposal were some requests to add some clarification about what the board would be voting on this evening and what would be up for discussion, process, presentation, and approval at further or future meetings. And so those changes are summarized for the community and for the members of the board. I'm going to get to that in just a minute here. On page 5 of the document, you'll notice that this recommendation section is very different from the recommendation that was presented to the board just a couple of days ago. This is our attempt as an administration to be responsive to the board comments and to reformat the language in such a way that indicates that there is a decision being recommended this evening, but there are other future decisions that will need to be taken through a public process, as well as presented to the community and to the board, and ultimately rely on board approval for those decisions. So what is up for recommendation this evening is for district administration to implement a relocation of College Park Elementary School to the current Fiesta Gardens International School site, to relocate Fiesta Gardens International School to the current College Park Elementary School site, to allow both schools to house their own pre-K programs once the move is made, and to allow both schools to retain their current respective dual language or immersion programs. In the months ahead, administration expects between May 2022 and May 2024 to engage the community and make presentations, and ultimately request board action to make decisions regarding the consultative school design work that is being facilitated by PAN, that would really be built on the 4 pillars of community schools, which is included in this presentation and was discussed at our special meeting. 2, enacting school facilities decisions for North Central San Mateo school buildings and construction that would align to the consultative work. 3, implementing district enrollment policies to maintain both schools as magnet programs. And 4, potentially expanding the program in North Central San Mateo to include grades 6 through 8 in future years, with a 5th edition that I can mention and update in this document as we move forward, which is considerations of academic program designs for North Central San Mateo that are not included in this presentation. What I want to do is take the board to the next section that received substantial updating and changes. And give me just one second here. Our facility section, our bond consultative sections had very few changes or updates. Here now on page 12 of the document, you'll notice a change in the language, whereas on the 26th it was described as recommended strategy. We have updated the language to indicate recommended strategy for consideration in future years to make it very clear that these are what we believe to be effective and fruitful strategies that need to go through a process that includes board approval. Community engagement, specifically the work that PAN is conducting with our school community now to develop responsive approaches that are built on the 4 pillars of community schools, which are integrated supports, expanded opportunities for learning, collaborative leadership, and active family engagement. In addition to that, enrollment procedures, specifically acknowledging the importance of honoring historical neighborhoods for both schools, College Park and Fiesta Gardens. Grade spans, which was discussed in the special meeting, a proposal to extend the program in North Central San Mateo to include 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in future years. And what is also discussed at the special meeting and part of this presentation, which is consultative work around school facilities in the utilization of funding that was set aside using Measure X. In addition to that, there's a short chart summarizing the work that will need to take place relative to College Park Elementary School. On page 14, there's a visual that we have developed that attempts to show community and staff what the timeline for some of this future work would look like. So the color coding indicates what part of the process is taking place, that green color being community engagement, the teal color being the creation of proposals for the board, and then the gold color being board approval. So the facilities process is recommended to initiate in May. The engagement is to be completed by January, and then using architectural consultants between January and May to create proposals for the board. The document would indicate that within 12 months, we'll be back here with the school board with a fully fleshed out facilities construction plan that has gone through community input, had architectural consultative work, and ready for board approval. The same applies to enrollment decisions, as well as the potential for grade span expansion. So this is a visual that illustrates how this process takes place over time. I did have a conversation with one of our school board members earlier this week, specifically talking about making adjustments to this visual and potentially bringing this back to the school board with those adjustments. The particular item at the time was to talk about program additions or academic program design additions focus in future years. So that potentially will come back to the board at a later date. What you'll see here is a visual that describes what the enrollment will look like for College Park Elementary School in the years ahead. Very little change, as you can tell. On the Fiesta Gardens side, if the school district were to move forward with expanded grades, increasing 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, then what you'll see there is how the K through 8 enrollment goes from what it's currently at 423 in grades K through 5, and then increasing by almost 220 by the time we reach full capacity in 27, 28. And then at the bottom of this visual, an acknowledgement that there would be an additional 125 approximately. That's very difficult to predict because preschool doesn't have the same requirement for attendance, and pre and TK students attending as part of the school in the Turnbull facility. The remainder of the project and the document remains very minimally changed. We did make a change here that the board brought to our attention, the need to show the entire facility as opposed to one part of the facility, and to change the header that came above it that indicated site work or site removal, and now that has been taken off. It's more clear that what is up for discussion is the entirety of the property. So that adjustment was made. The remainder of the product for the board's review remains very minimally changed. The educational services section, the student services section, which talks about enrollment policies. And then we do have one appendix document that is a little summary of other considerations, other things that we'll look at in the months and years ahead, which are school facility conditions, the operating costs of both schools, classroom capacity, core facilities, things like libraries, kitchens, transportation and how transportation relates to these changes, and then ultimately the educational programs. So with that, I will open up to the board and to the community for any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. Are there any clarifying questions from the board?
To Superintendent Choa for that update and the corrections. I have two clarifying questions. One is there was a reference that Pan made, and let me just, I had it highlighted just a second ago. There it is. On page 6 in the narrative, it talks about how, in addition, Pan recommended that additional space be created, parenthetical, by expanding the building or constructing a new one, parentheses, so that twice the number of students currently served by College Park be served by the future school. In our discussion earlier, if you can clarify, my understanding is they were including both pre-K, which we don't normally include, and then also the possible expansion of the middle school. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I had intended to make that correction, Trustee Chen, but thank you for pointing that out just for clarity purposes.
Yeah, no, I think, and so what it's reflected is, what really helps is the enrollment chart that you included.
Just to show the numbers.
Yes. And what it does do is that if we do build this all the way out to the middle school, you're really looking at a school about 636 students with the asterisk down below of 125 or so in terms of pre-K, which normally we don't include in the numbers, but you've included there. So therefore, on that entire site, it's possible that there could be, 750 kids or so, which is fine. But it's not, we're not necessarily doubling, what is the previous at 423 and of our current enrollment to that's just not the.
That's correct.
Thank you. And then the only other clarification question I had is on the chart. Let me see. Let's look at the College Park enrollment data. So if we were to move the schools in 2025, only the students who are currently in, like, what years, I guess, would help. Like if I was a parent and I said, oh, my student is in 3rd grade right now, actually, would they be relocated to the new location, or would they not? And I think that would help clarify things for parents, just to make it clear. I think you kind of do that with the different highlight, but I think that would just in the future, if we're making any other changes. But otherwise, thank you. Those are, I guess that was a comment. Sorry. Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions? Okay, Peter, audience, okay. Peter, would you mind checking with the Zoom audience to see if there's any public comment?
Absolutely. If there's any members of the audience that would like to make public comment on this agenda item, please use the raise your hand functionality within Zoom now. Randy, go ahead.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Go ahead, Randy.
Awesome, thanks. So thank you, Superintendent Ochoa, for inviting questions from the audience as well, from the public. And I do have a couple of questions. And, I watched the study session, and I've seen these meetings also with the Noguera Consulting Group. And, I don't recall, and I didn't take the time before this meeting to go back and to look over those notes, but was the middle school or the middle years grades, was that part of their proposal for what they recommended? I was curious about that, and I know that that's something that in your prior position in your prior district, that was something that you had implemented. So is that coming from you, or is that coming from the PON group? Number one. Number two, I thought that you had said in the study session that a lot of the construction need for expanding at the North Central school site would be to accommodate the grades 6 through 8. And it seems to be a little bit like putting the cart before the horse to engage your architect and start all of that planning now before that discussion and the community engagement is done, which will happen a year down the road before the architect and all of that is engaged. So I'm just curious about like who's decided what, who suggested what, where that was planned, and then how the order of those things go. But I really want to say thank you so much. I don't know if it's like super apparent, like all of the engagement that you did for bringing families and teachers and everyone together to get on board with this plan. It's really incredible. And I think it's really a testament to the communities involved that they did get on board. There's a lot to really be grateful for in all of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, next we have Marcella. Marcella, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to I just had two quick comments. One is just appreciation, because this is a messy process involving lots of schools, kind of touching lots of people in lots of spaces. So having that board study session on Tuesday, while it was very unfortunately timed, really hard for people to make it, I did appreciate posting that so that we could watch it before the meeting today. And the two things that I wanted to ask about are, one, I noticed that in the data, we're showing that Fiesta Gardens has decreased in class size significantly the last couple of years, but I'm very curious when the discussions are happening within the community, if those numbers might change, because historically we always had 4 kindergarten classrooms and a size of about 100. I'm very interested to know what that process will look like, as well as what education might look like about immersion programs, about heritage language maintenance, and providing some of that additional resource. And then I also, I'm again very appreciative that PAN is coming back, and I have a question about when or if there is a structure for them to come back to the board as opposed to the smaller community engagement meetings, now that there's a broader audience that is being discussed and different stakeholders are a part of this conversation. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Marcella. President Proctor, there are no other hands for public comment.
Okay, thank you very much, Superintendent Ochoa. Oh, hold on one moment. Would you guys like to make any public comments on the item regarding the switching of the 2 schools, Fiesta Gardens and College Park? Or are you just here to listen? Yeah, did you want to make any comments on the school in North Central San Mateo? Do you want to go to the microphone? You don't have to. I just want to give you an opportunity. Okay, we have a live public comment coming.
This here? It's on. My name is Jim Sell, and my wife Brenda. We are part of the Social Justice Ministry from St. Bartholomew's Church. And about 15 years ago, we came to the school board and asked for some extra funds, some funds for an extra bus to, or a second bus, so that the kids that are bused out of the North Central neighborhood into the outlying schools could take advantage of some additional tutoring that could be made available. And the school board graciously provided funds in 2008. And of course, we all remember 2008 as the Great Recession. So from that point to the point of North Central having its own neighborhood school so that it can develop a community in their neighborhood and not have to send their children off on a bus every day, 8-10 miles away. What you have in this new plan, I think, is life-changing for a lot of people. And I hope that you support, that you will vote to do this and offer you any assistance that we can provide to on this journey to having a special, a life-changing educational environment in the North Central neighborhood. Bless you.
Thank you. You guys showed up at the perfect time. Superintendent Ochoa, would you like to address any of the questions that were asked by the public?
Absolutely. A couple of updates and clarifications. So what process the district will go through in the months ahead is actually it's already happening. So the school district is working with BAN and a group of parents to initiate engagement around North Central San Mateo. The most recent meeting was yesterday. We had 10 parent representatives from the community in North Central San Mateo, along with a team of educators and consultants with BAN engaging in this conversation about school design. Part of the district's process to really think through what Dr. McCollum mentioned in her remarks was the process is messy. It has taken 8 months. And through the process, hearing from staff within the district, hearing from parents who have attended meetings we've held about their support for the idea of extending the school that would be in North Central San Mateo to be able to accept kids all the way through 8th grade. That's really the source of the idea behind recommending that the board take action at a future meeting to extend that school grade span. So it would be staff who has made those recommendations, but also parents who've attended the many engagement sessions we've had around this work. I think the second, I don't have it jotted down here, but the second question, somebody help me.
There was a question about the construction needs to accommodate for 6th to 8th grade.
Yeah, so part of what the board will decide in the weeks ahead is, or in the months ahead, is through this engagement process with the community. We have funding to be able to add facilities to this school. So expanding enrollment is certainly within our reach. Trustee Chin pointed out how the chart indicates adding 60 students every year, which is basically 2 physical classroom spaces. So if you want to think about the school map that's included in the presentation and finding a space on campus to be able to add 6 classrooms, that is sort of the visual representation of how we would be able to accept more students. What I'm proposing through this document is that the board consider at future meetings adding those additional grades. Having said that, if the board were to take a different direction, it could actually bring the enrollment back up to having 4 teachers per grade level and basically take up the same real estate if you want to think about it that way. So it's really a matter of taking this engagement process through so that when we bring that proposal to the board, it comes with the knowledge of the stakeholders' input and the process that we went through to arrive at that recommendation. Again, what's in front of the board tonight is the relocation itself of the two schools, with an acknowledgement that engagement will happen in the months ahead related to how to affect the change.
Thank you for that. Let's open up to board comments, please.
Thank you for bringing this, back to us again. And for those of you that were not able to attend, I know we've alluded to the fact that there was a study session earlier in the week that has been posted where we asked a lot of questions and discuss this report in depth. But just a couple of follow-ups from me. One is, so I guess kind of following up with some of the public comment and just some of the comments that you made, Superintendent Ochoa. And I know that we discussed this as well, but the chart on kind of page 14 in terms of timing, I think is something that would be great to come back sooner rather than later, because I am thinking about kind of some of these pieces around grade spans and program and all of that needing to be discussed and determined to inform the direction of facilities in some regards, and kind of some of these other pieces, and just feeling like that's an important conversation. And I know that that's something that is, well, maybe I don't know, that's something that is a part of the PAN conversations that are happening now, or that's something that will be a part of the conversations that are happening moving forward.
So I want the bond process to get just a little bit further along. We've had 2 meetings so far. We have 6 more scheduled. I think the end result of that process is going to come to this board very soon here in the next, before the close of this academic year. So I would want to hold off just a little bit longer to be able to bring that to you. But at the same time, to be responsive to your first comment, it's possible for us in a matter of weeks to return with a much more updated chart. Again, we had it on Tuesday, so we really only had a day to get it in and get it updated. But the work will continue to make it much more clear and more accurate, basically, and then bring it back to either the May 12th or the May 26th meeting of the board with some updates on that visual itself.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess I'm just thinking through the timeline on some of these things and kind of I'm back. Am I back? Yeah, I'm back on my end. Oh, I'm back for everyone. Okay. Lost connection, which is weird. We're all on the same internet connection, but here I am. I just lost my train of thought.
But you are using an Apple product?
Good one. Yeah, so just to come back, and so that we have discussion around like what the timeline needs to be and what comes first, just so that we're not finding ourselves in a situation where we've made certain decisions and then that's actually not what the stakeholders want, or that we've decided based on that input. And then just to clarify, you're saying there will be PAN recommendations brought back. Will that be via study session or that will be in a regular board meeting? Okay.
Those would be in a regular board meeting.
Okay. I feel like I had one other thing and now I'm losing my. Yeah, there's some internet issues I think going on right now because I'm getting a really bad delay too. Anyways, that's what I have for now. Thank you. Looking forward to continuing this discussion.
Well, I can chime in. I'm really excited about this process, and I think we had a really great study session the other day where we kind of got a chance to hash through some of the details. I am thrilled about the strong support that we have from staff and from the community. And I think Superintendent Ochoa, that's just a testament to your ability to effectively communicate, because I think when this first came on the agenda, it was kind of like people were unsure and uncertain about what this is going to be. And it seems like we're now headed in a really great direction. I look forward to continuing to hear more. I think, there's still quite a bit of pretty big decisions to make as we head down, getting closer to the actual move. So, as much as we can continue to communicate clearly and engage the community, I think that'll be really important. But I'm very excited about the community school aspect of this. And I feel like it's something that we're just now kind of uncovering, like, what are the possibilities? And I can't wait to see kind of what comes out of all of the engagement and the recommendations from Pan. So very excited. Thank you.
I will share. I'm also very excited. This is a huge win for our school district and for North Central families and students, most importantly. I think we're really correcting course and writing a future for many kids in our school district that will be served by the school, but also just by the community support that will be part of the school and available for all North Central families and all families that need it. And so, yeah, I appreciate the presentation, and we did just have a really in-depth study session 2 days ago on this. So I don't have too much more to add, but I will say that I really appreciate the community engagement timeline. I think that's very clear, and that is a lot of what folks who have had concerns have been asking for. It's I think this makes it very clear in terms of what to expect, and will make the process smoother for everyone. And yeah, I'm really glad that we have made this happen. I think everyone played their role, and I want to also thank our community members that have understood the shift that we have needed to make for our North Central families. So thank you.
Okay. I've made no secret that I really am excited about the idea of a community school. In researching and looking in depth at what a community school entails, I think it's high time that we have those in our district. I'm excited about giving, as a district, families the opportunity to walk their kids to school. I remember, when I was a kid, all three of my schools, the elementary, the middle, and the high school, were all walkable for me. And, there's just something special about being able to walk your child to school. I mean, I've had the privilege of being able to do that for 4 years. And being able to be in the neighborhood where the school is. And I'm excited about North Central families being able to do that as well. I do know that some that, at least the ones that are slated for park, do walk, and that's about 1.2 miles. And that's too far to walk to school when you're a kindergartner or first grade, in my opinion. Certainly, it doesn't allow for community building. So I'm excited about this opportunity.
I'll wrap up and just say Thank you, Superintendent Ochoa, for all of your hard work and your team who's worked on this. It really does show how much work you've put into it because of all the support that there is around the relocation of these two schools. And I do want to thank the study session that we had the other day. It was slightly unfortunate timing, but I'm glad that we were able to get the video up so people could watch it before tonight's meeting. And I want to thank you for the edits and the future edits that are going to be coming on this report as well. I know that tonight's decision is really just one big hurdle for us to make this change, but outlined in the plan, there are many other decisions that need to be done to make sure that that the schools are relocated or sold in a successful manner. I'll just sort of end it and say that I'm, being on the board, I feel very proud and fortunate to have made, we have made some major decisions that affect the school district, from like opening a new school to like adding like half a Bowditch soon to opening gyms. I mean, swapping of school locations is really right up there in one of these big decisions that we're making, where we have the ability to reduce, not completely eliminate all the busing, but reduce the amount of busing that happens at North Central, but to provide North Central, the community, their own neighborhood school is huge. And so I feel very fortunate to be part of this initial discussion. And so, and vote. And I would love to make a motion, but I will offer the motion up to Trustee Corzo if she'd like to make it, as she was a former North Central community member, or she is a North Central community member, but a student back in the day. So.
Thank you. I motion to approve this amazing progress for our North Central Community School.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Trustee Corzo for the motion and Trustee Chin for the second. All in favor, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that's amazing. This has passed unanimous. So great. Okay, we will move on to item number 6.2, approval of employment contract for Diana L. Tavares as Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Thank you, President Proctor, members of the public. Peter, if we could promote Diana Tavares in just a minute here. Be wonderful to have her join us. This evening for the board consideration and approval is a recommendation to approve the contract for Diana L. Tavares. Diana is our candidate for the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources position in the district. The proposed start date is July 1st, 2022. Diana comes to the district with over 20 years of experience in education, most recently working in the Stockton Unified School District as a Director of Human Resources, as well as the North Monterey County Unified School District and the Salinas Union High School District. She has prior assistant superintendent experience and brings to the team, I think, David, you were in our process, just a very calming effect, a very solid and very centering energy to our administrative team. She did go through a quite rigorous process to become the selected candidate, interviewing for a large panel comprised of both of our employee union representatives, district leaders, and department in the human resources department staff. The proposal is to employ Diana Tavares effective July 1 through June 30th, 2025. The compensation is according to the district's assistant superintendent salary scale, which begins at $223,351. with all benefits and additional components of salary tied to the contracts of our other assistant superintendents as well. So the same number of vacation days, the same number of sick days. So there's nothing unique about the contract in that sense. And with that, I will open to the board for any questions or comments related to this item.
Thank you very much. Are there any clarifying questions?
Well, I see Diana there now, so we can give her an opportunity to say hello. Hi, Diana.
Good evening, board. It's very nice to meet you all virtually.
Well, you're more brief than even Nelson, Diana, so I didn't list that as one of your strengths, but hey, you know, Diana is joining us, as you can tell, via online, but we hope to have her here very soon. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the board for your further discussion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any public comments on this item from the audience? Okay, Peter, can you check with the Zoom audience, please?
Absolutely. If there are any members of the audience that would like to make public comment on this agenda item, please use the raise your hand functionality within Zoom now. Okay, Julie, go ahead.
Good evening, board. I'm Julie MacArthur again. I just wanted to take the opportunity to welcome Diana to the district. It was a pleasure getting to know her in the interview, and looking forward to you being in our district. So just wanted to say welcome, and I'm looking forward to the relationship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, President Proctor, we have no other hands for public comment.
Thank you. Do we have any board comments?
Sorry, I just have a clarifying question. Diana was actually on our consent agenda and listed there. Do we actually take a second vote on this? Okay, thank you.
And that is because she is, sorry, and that is because she is a contracted employee.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Chin for the motion and Trustee Watkins for the second. All in favor, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes unanimously. Diana, really looking forward to getting to know you and working with you and seeing you in person. So congratulations and welcome to the district.
Thank you all very much, trustees and Superintendent Ochoa. I am thrilled to be joining the San Mateo-Foster City family. You all have been just wonderful with your outreach and your warmness, and I just know it's going to be a fabulous fit. I'm looking forward to doing wonderful work with you all in serving the students, the families, and the staff of the Foster City, San Mateo Foster City School District. So thank you for this opportunity, and I can't wait to get to know each and every one of you personally. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to item 7.1, 2022 Summer School Program Plan.
Yes, good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Ochoa, David Chambliss with Ed Services. I am going to present the update that you have requested from the staff on our current planning for our 2022 summer school. So give me a moment here and I will share my screen. All right. So just to provide you with some of the essential details here, you can note the two schools that will be hosting the summer program, the dates and times, as well as the grade levels we expect to serve. and to clarify that our summer program serves two programs, the general education class program, and for our special education students, an extended school year or ESY program. This is an overview of the kind of programming we expect to provide. Again, this is in the general education portion, which we will also include many of our ESY students. You'll note the focus on literacy, STEM, and math, with some programs pending our ability to recruit staff to offer some additional counseling, PE, and social emotional learning curriculum. Give you a minute to just sort of take a look at what's bulleted there. And then we had questions from you regarding how students enter into the summer program. And so we wanted to spend a little bit of time clarifying that for you and for the community. As mentioned, the ESY program is focused on our students with IEPs who have exhibited some regression this year and the need for learning recoupment. So we identify them based on an IEP process that is managed, of course, by our special education staff. For the general education program, you can see that obviously we include students from our general ed program, as well as students not necessarily included in the ESY program who are special education students. We identify students through a variety of criteria. You'll note there that we look at our math common formative assessment data, our literacy data, Fountas and Pinnell and reading inventory. And I'm going to walk you through, there's some steps in there that also, of course, allow for school input to encourage enrollment in the summer program. So let's talk about those steps now. There is this initial data list that we generate for basically actually every student in the district, and there's an ordering criteria applied to that so that we elevate the students who we identify as most in need of additional learning over the summer, and you can see the criteria there. That number of students is sort of matched against our ability to recruit teachers for the program. There's a certain kind of matching there. And so the number of classes are based on that staffing, and I'll provide a little more detail on that in a second. Then as we look at the list and we see who we think we can bring into the summer program, we go back to the schools and allow for a round of input from them. And then finally, we have district staff who it's just a process of working through the list of students and calling the families and encouraging them to enroll. And as we begin to fill classes, we move to still unfilled classes and keep working our way down the list until we've built out the program. What we're targeting this year for the general ed program is right now we have approximately 20 teacher applications, and we think about class size, of course, meant to be smaller during the summer program of 18. We're projecting the ability to serve about 350 to 400 students, and are anticipating for the ESY program serving approximately 120 students. Certainly those numbers can go up with our ability to recruit more staff. And you may recall from last year's program that we are using our AB 86 funds to support this, which is actually almost a tripling of the amount of funds that are available. And in doing so, have been able to offer our teachers actually quite a handsome hourly for that, which really helps a lot with the recruitment, because we all know what the kind of year we've had. And so the idea of another month of teaching, it's just important that people feel honored for their time and service and compensated well for that. So let me pause there. That's the broad overview, and turn it back to you for any questions.
Thank you very much, David. Are there any clarifying questions from the board?
Thank you for the presentation, David. The AB 86 funds that we're using, I know we received them last year, and I believe this is the last summer. This is the last time we can use those funds. Is that correct, or does it go all the way through the fall of next school year?
Those specific funds were targeted for last summer and for this coming summer. There are other ESSER funds that we can look at if we want to continue to have this expanded summer program. But yes, the original budget that was passed would end for this year in this 22 summer program.
And thank you. I know that I think in the past we always had summer school, but I don't believe we've had them at these numbers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I think it was
doubled, if not almost tripled.
Yes. From what I recall, it was either 100 or 200 students that we had identified and we had for summer school. But so this is great. I guess it's a comment, but I'll just continue my question. It's great that we have these funds. It's great that we are able to provide this, and thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the presentation, David, and for sharing a little bit more. I know I had some questions around just process of identifying students, so I appreciate you fleshing that out a little bit more. I did have one question. When you were sharing around kind of staffing and how many students we hope to serve in each of the summer school programs, I was wondering if you, and I know I didn't ask this in advance, so you may not have the numbers, but if you have a ballpark in terms of like ideal world, well, I guess it's not ideal, but how many students do we think are in our district that would benefit greatly from summer school, or that would be on the list of strongly recommend, and how far away are we from that? And I know that staffing, and I know that there are constraints. I'm just curious as to like what that delta is.
Yes, if I could I come back with that information? I'd be happy to follow up with you around that, because we want to ground it in our actual assessment data and whatnot. So I would feel best if I could give you, the real data.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll just add to that. I think one of my questions is, like to Shara's point, just in terms of like our English learners who haven't been able to reclassify after multiple years, like how are they brought into that equation? I know like right now, like I think the LPAC, like we had our kiddos take the LPAC like February, March. And, how soon do we get all of that data? How soon do we start making decisions with it, et cetera?
We wouldn't be able to use the current LPAC data because the window actually for the LPAC continues through May. And we wouldn't get a clear picture back until June, and that's obviously too late. So we do use the students' English learner status. We use their LTEL status for, or near, potential LTEL status for our 4th and 5th graders. And then we, of course, would be using the literacy data that we have, as well as prior CASP data. So it gives us a very good picture of what the need is, I think.
Thank you.
I had a question, David, in terms of, I guess, after the summer, what kind of data do you look at to determine whether the summer was a success for students, and how effective, I guess, we used the funds and made progress for students?
Yes, so we do a pre and a post. There's a social emotional learning component to it, and then we come back and we would look at the first interim assessment in the fall to begin to gauge, did we see a significant kind of growth or not? Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? No. Okay. Any public comment from on site? Okay, Peter, can we check with our Zoom audience for public comments on this item?
Yes, if there are any members of the public that would like to make comment on this item, please use the raise your hand functionality within Zoom now. Okay, Randy, go ahead.
Hi, good evening again. So I really, really appreciate the comments that Trustee Watkins and Trustee Proctor both made, or not the comments, the questions that they had. And these are along the lines that I had myself as I was listening to this presentation, and that I've had actually in the past. And just to expand on that a bit, so Trustee Watkins was asking about, really what is the need? What it sounded like to me in listening to this presentation is, hey, here's some money, we can do more. And it sounds like, oh, hey, if we could only, get more teachers. Hey, we're meeting teachers' needs. Let's match up teachers that want to work with a lot of money, and let's match this all up and then just insert kids. Instead of finding out who needs services and what are those services, and start from a student or a child-centered approach, starting that way. And then the next thing was that Trustee Proctor asked, and I think it could have gone deeper, asking how are we measuring whether this is a good use of time, resources, money? And well, looking at the first interim assessment, what are we comparing that to? What's the comparison? I'm really curious about what that is. And there's an assessment, what's happening with that? I'd be really curious. And yeah, how do we know? What is the truth? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, President Proctor, we have no other hands for public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's bring it back to the board for comments.
Well, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Chambliss. It's nice to see that there's, a priority that's being addressed. Just something I would ask in terms of ESY and students in special education, when placing them, I think it's really important to take into consideration that there's more than just a potential learning loss, in terms of grades or academics. But so much of our education now is based upon group work and how well kids function in a group. And that skill does get lost in the 8 weeks of summer. So I would ask, that to be factored in when decisions are being made in terms of special education students, is that, for some, the social aspect is really impedes their ability to learn. And, it'd be great to be able to nip that in the bud and catch that before it becomes an academic problem.
Thanks for the update on summer school, for sharing a little bit more in depth about process. Would love to have you provide update on some of that kind of data, and then based on that, would love for us to circle back around. Then what, right? If we're seeing that there's a need that far exceeds what we're able, and I know that this is the other thing it's making me think a little bit about, and this is one piece of a support puzzle, right? And process for kids. And it's making me think a little bit about just communication strategies and kind of the other things that are happening, right? I know, for example, Superintendent Ochoa talked about Footsteps to Brilliance and some of the work that happened over the breaks, and, what are the other ways that we can support student learning over the summer, and how will we communicate all of that to parents? And I'm sure that that's something that you all are talking about and thinking about, but it's kind of just making me think about this like plethora of resources. How can we ensure that parents are aware of all of that, and that there's, I guess, like a multi-pronged approach to ensuring that we're trying to front load and address what we know happens over the summer. So just thinking a little bit about that piece, and And yeah, I know we've had this conversation in the past about trying to increase the number of students that we're able to serve over the summer. And I know that there are lots of challenges, and I know that you know, we've done a good job in addressing some of these needs in other ways. And so just hoping to continue this conversation about how we can continue to do this. And I will also say one other piece is maybe when I don't know if when that will come back, but I would be interested to know a little bit. And I don't know if you're there yet, and have anything to share about it, but in terms of the programming aspect of summer school, what does that look like? And it kind of follows with what Trustee Proctor asked about, kind of how do we measure success, but what are we doing to get there, and then how will we know that we've done a good job, and how will we make modifications? So that was a lot of questions mixed with comments, mixed with, can we talk about this again? When we have some of those answers and some more clarification. I think I'll just bounce off what's already been said, just because it's kind of relevant. So a couple of things, and I think Trustee Watkins, when she made her comments, it jogged something in my memory from a long time ago when I think my son Jacob was invited to summer school, maybe kindergarten, like after kindergarten or first grade or something very young, but we couldn't go because we already had summer plans. But you know, continuing to share with families that maybe if you're not in summer school or you can't make it, here are some of the tools that we use in our district, and here's how you can work with your students over the summer to stay fresh and all that kind of thing. Because I think I remember just thinking, oh well, like I guess he's not going to learn anything this summer, sorry. But anyways, we have a lot of tools now. And then my other comment was just going back to the data, and maybe the past couple summers were weird and hard to compare, but maybe we could go back and look at some of the data from previous summers, and then just kind of see like what are the targets that we're setting for ourselves for the summer, and then being able to compare it to it after summer's over, just so we know. I'm concerned that if this funding this is the last summer we can use it, how will that impact next summer? And you know, I think it's just important to see where we were, where we've gone, and what we kind of expect for the future. So that's the kind of information I'm looking for. But thank you very much for all the information you shared tonight. Any other comments? Okay. All right, then we'll move on. We are at item 8.1, approval of resolution number 26/2122, certificated employee appreciation week and day of the teacher. Maybe this is one we could read out loud if we all pull up the resolution.
Thank you, President Proctor. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Choa, and members of the audience. I'd like to start, first of all, by congratulating Diana Tavares. Welcome, Diana. I know the HR staff is very much looking forward to welcoming you soon. I just want to say to you, it's been a great 5 years for me, and I hope that'll be the same or more for you. So congratulations. Secondly, I would just like to acknowledge Julie MacArthur and Lisa Fahey. Thank you so much for sharing the good news with us about the ratification of the 2-year agreement. It's been a great 5 years working with you. I really appreciate your leadership and collaboration. And I know it takes a lot of time and effort on your part. And so, you know, thank you, district and SME teams, for working through the tough issues, trusting and processing each other. So thank you. 8.1, presented for your approval this evening is the resolution for Certificate Employee Appreciation Week and Day of the Teacher. So May 1st through the 7th is Certificate Employee Appreciation Week, and May 11th is the Day of the Teacher. And so it is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt the resolution honoring the district certificate employees and declaring May 1st through 7th and May 11th to celebrate and honor our certificated staff.
Thank you very much, Sue. Maybe we should read it first and then we can go through the public comments and all that kind of stuff so that people can make comments after we've read it. So why don't we start with just going down the line, start with Trustee Warren, and we will take turns going down the line.
Hey, San Mateo-Foster City School District Resolution number 2122, Certificated Employee Appreciation Week on May 1st through 7th, 2022, and Day of the Teacher on May 11th, 2022. Whereas the week of May 1st through 7th, 2022 has been designated as Certificated Employee Appreciation Week, and May 11th, 2022 as Day of the Teacher, and
whereas SMFCSD schools returned in person for the 2021-2022 school year, and certificated staff showed incredible optimism and resilience as they welcomed students and families back to campus, supported students who were on independent study, and monitored the health and safety of staff and students through a winter surge, and
whereas San Mateo-Foster City School District certificated staff supported students' academic success beyond the classroom by teaching in the Math Boost program, encouraging students and families to use Footsteps to Brilliance, and leading math and literacy nights for families.
Whereas San Mateo-Foster City School District teachers and certificated staff committed to continuous learning in order to better serve students by participating in professional development related to trauma-informed practices, cultural competency, ST Math, and Orton Gillingham literacy training, and
whereas the San Mateo-Foster City School District certificated support staff have gone above and beyond by substituting for classroom teachers, co-teaching weekly social emotional learning lessons, connecting families to resources, and making home visits, and
whereas San Mateo-Foster City School District certificated support staff are recognized for assuming responsibilities outside of their regular duties as coaches and athletic directors, LPAC testing coordinators, and PTA, school site council, and ELEC representatives to provide robust school experiences for students.
whereas San Mateo-Foster City School District teachers and certificated staff embrace and prepare for the future by serving on strategic plan committees, leading affinity groups, and increase their expertise with online tools.
Whereas the San Mateo-Foster City School District recognizes that these are only a sample of the ways that our dedicated educators positively impact students, staff, families, and the community.
sorry, give me a second. Okay. Whereas the San Mateo-Foster City School District community recognizes the extraordinary commitment, hard work, and dedication of its certificated staff in educating children and supporting families.
now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees extends its sincere appreciation and gratitude to the San Mateo-Foster City School District's certificated staff and does hereby proclaim the week of May 1st through the 7th as Certificated Staff Appreciation Week and May 11th as Day of the Teacher. And
be it further resolved that the San Mateo-Foster City School District Board of Trustees strongly encourages all members of our community to join them in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers and certificated staff for their dedication to their work.
Okay, so we will go through the normal process and then we'll come back and vote on this. So are there any clarifying questions on this item? Okay. We have a public comment in our audience. Christy, you can come on up over here. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christy Rauch. I teach second grade at George Hall School. And I've wanted to make a board statement to share thoughts lately, but those thoughts seem disconnected without a through line. The resolution, though, has unified some of the thoughts. The resolution highlights programs that the school district values, starting with Footsteps to Brilliance and ST Math. These two programs, however, don't require teachers to interact with students in meaningful ways. The programs don't require teachers to engage students in conversations that facilitate understanding. If these programs are not meant to be a focus in the classroom, but instead something to do at home, then perhaps they don't belong in a resolution recognizing certificated employees. Orton Gillingham is also featured in the resolution. However, the literacy training isn't important enough for the district to pay teachers to attend. Instead, we're asked to donate a week of our unpaid summer break or the week of fall break, also unpaid, to attend the training. There's precedent, by the way, to pay teachers and pay for the related training costs. I haven't opted to attend the Orton Gillingham training primarily because my time will not be recognized appropriately. Equally important, however, is the number of programs and initiatives that the district has chosen to prioritize at the same time. And I realize prioritize might not be the right word here. In addition to Orton Gillingham, ST Math, and Footsteps to Brilliance, many teachers are navigating ZERN, second year of adoption, but first full year in person, TWIG, second year of adoption, but first full year in person, second step with the updated curriculum, and depending on the grade level, Heggerty Phonemic Awareness, or Bridge the Gap, also new curriculum, and that's just a fraction. We're navigating some of these programs with limited professional development opportunities or professional development that was specific to distance learning. In addition to programs and professional development, the resolution identifies the many ways that teachers on special assignment are pulled to assume responsibilities outside of their regular work. There's BUZZ, that are language and literacy TOSAs, will see their positions phased out because their positions are not effective. And yet the resolution essentially recognizes that TOSAs are not allowed to do the work that supports an effective program. In addition to pulling language and literacy TOSAs away from working with their reading groups, we're being judged, and I'm not a TOSA, but the district is judging the effectiveness of the reading program by using incomplete information. During the fall, classroom teachers were asked to provide independent reading levels for all of our students. In the winter, the second assessment window, however, we were asked to provide independent reading levels for only students below the reading level. I'm unclear how we can use this data to determine that our reading instruction is not effective. If the district is interested in using data-informed decision-making as described in building block 3 of the strategic plan, then please be clear how you're using the data. Finally, if the district really wants to extend its sincere appreciation and gratitude, then please take into consideration what is already on our plates before you add one more initiative or program.
My apologies, I'm
frequently hear
interrupting, but
the
the 3
message to
minutes
take-
has elapsed. If you could do me a favor and please wrap up your thoughts.
I have 2 more sentences left. We frequently hear the message to take care of ourselves and practice self-care. The message is unhelpful and insulting when that work it becomes the sole responsibility of the individual employee and ignores the responsibility that the larger institution assumes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, or those comments, I should say. Can we check with the Zoom audience if there are any public comments?
Yes, if there's any members of the audience in the Zoom attendees, please use the raise your hand functionalities within Zoom now. Okay, President Proctor, we have no hands for public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's bring it back for board comments on this item.
First, I want to thank you for providing public comments and everyone listening to the audience for being here. I would agree that it has been 2 years since, I mean, I think we did this in distance learning, but you know, we're slowly coming out of the pandemic in some ways. I just would like to thank everyone, all the teachers, and really celebrate the week that is coming up. It is very difficult. We have had a very difficult past couple of years. I do feel like we are coming out of it, but it has been hard. It's definitely been hard. And I just really want to show my appreciation to everyone for all your hard work. I think that it does not go unnoticed. There are a lot of things that have changed, and but we're going through it. And I just want to thank everyone for everything. So thank you.
Just to build off of that, want to just start by thanking all of our certificated staff. Yeah, it's been challenging far before COVID existed, and then teachers are wear so many hats and hold so many pieces before COVID existed, before we were in the middle of a global pandemic, and it's so much more now. And so just appreciate the resilience and the dedication and the optimism and all of the list goes on and on and on. Our students, our families, our community just wouldn't be the same without all of you. And so I'm deeply, deeply grateful and appreciative. I also did want to just respond to Christy. Just thank you for sharing kind of your concerns and how this landed with you, and how some of the challenges that you're experiencing. I would like to request that we, and I'll add this again under requests for future board member meetings, but that we have an update around the various programs, just kind of in a cohesive way, and as along with the ways in which we're supporting our teachers and staff, and an overview of kind of stakeholder engagement and input. I know that we're laser focused on student data and student achievement, and that is absolutely important. And it's hard to hear from a teacher that I personally know and respect and know is really dedicated to our students and families, that that it's not working as well as it could be. And so how do we have that conversation with openness and continue to work together to make that better? So I appreciate you sharing, and I know everyone here is doing the best that they can for our students and their families, and that's why and these conversations are important to have. So I would like for us to bring it back for a future meeting that isn't about recognizing and appreciating our teachers, where we can dig into that in a little bit more depth if my fellow trustees are in agreement that that is something that they would like to discuss.
I'll just add to that really quickly. I agree. I'd like to see this come back as well. And I just want to name that sometimes it's really hard to speak your truth when you know that it's gonna kind of create some discomfort, right? But it's a necessary discomfort. If we don't talk about these things, we can't do better. And when we know that we want to be better, when we know we want to do better, we have to be real about what's not working and what is working. And also just gratitude for all of our teachers. And it's really hard work. I'm not a teacher, but as a social worker these past many years, it's I feel that that sense of I love this work, I love working with families, I love working with kids, and there's so many things in the system that could help the work be better. And so I feel I understand that perspective of wanting to be part of improving a system and improving the results that you can actually get with a family or with a student, right? Because of that drive to want to shift things in the right direction. So thank you. for that. And we're in this together. We want to do this work. So appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you to all of our teachers. Recognizing that the last, oh, excuse me, recognizing that the last couple of years have probably been the most difficult I think anybody has ever been through. And I won't for a moment imagine what it's like to teach online, to pivot and teach in person, to, you know, work with a bunch of kids who you don't know if they're bringing in, you know, I guess you never really know what kids bring to school, but you know, it's the stakes are definitely higher when you have COVID involved. And yet our teachers show up, you know, day in and day out, week after week. And so that's really appreciated. And, you know, I also thank you for bringing forward, you know, what's not necessarily working. I mean, we have to be able to take the, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly. And, you know, you don't know what you don't know until you have people with boots on the ground tell you what's going on. So I appreciate your coming tonight and sharing your thoughts. But overall, you know, I just want all of our teachers to know that, you know, I personally want to send out a thank you for all that you do for all of our students. You know, our own personal kids, because I know we all have them, and you know, the kids that are, you know, become your kids while they're in your class, and sometimes even longer than that.
I just wanted to also share my appreciation and gratitude to certificated staff in this school district, and recognize a couple of things that, you know, when the pandemic first hit, teachers were like superheroes, and everybody just couldn't believe all of the work that you guys do. And then it seems like it quickly, that quickly faded, and we went through a period of time where people were then got angry, and, you know, it was like a whole cycle of emotions. And I just want you all to know that you continue to be superheroes to me. And when I think about my own kids going to school and how much their teachers mean to them, it's way beyond just teaching them math and science and reading. You just mean so much to so many families. And you know, if you're not feeling that every day from everybody, you know, I just want to remind you that you mean so much. And I recently talked to a teacher that I really respect, and she told me she's taken a break and she kind of lost some of the passion, and it's getting to be too, you know, sometimes it's too much. And so, you know, I want to recognize that it's not easy. And hearing from you just really, you know, kind of reminded me that there's so much involved here, that you can't physically do it all, and we need those kind of reminders that of some of the ways that we can support our teachers more. And so hearing from you and some of the comments that you made around professional development and just having some time to really dig deep in some of the curriculum, it's a good reminder. So I appreciate you for bringing those comments up, and I want to continue to just thank the teachers in our district for everything that you do, and I hope you get spoiled the week of May 1st through 7th and on the 11th as well, and every day beyond that. So just thank you again. And I guess we need a motion and all of that for this item.
Motion.
Motion to wait, I'm confused. Motion to approve this agenda item.
I'll second. Thank you, Trustee Corzo, for the motion, and Trustee Watkins for the second. All in favor, please unmute and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, this item passes 5-0. Okay, let me find my agenda. Okay, we will move on to item 8.2, approval of declaration of need.
Thank you, President Proctor. Presented for approval this evening is the Declaration of Need, which we annually present to you to certify that the district may need to apply for emergency credentials or authorizations if we are unable to recruit or hire teachers in mainly hard to fill positions. So recommended to the Board of Trustees for approval is the Declaration of Need for fully qualified educators for the 22-23 school year. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Sue. Are there any clarifying questions?
Just one. Sue, could you just let us, or just tell us, or give us an idea of what are those hard to fill positions at this point?
Yeah, at this, for the last several years, a lot of our hard to fill positions have been in the special education department. So special education teaching credentials, especially those for mod severe, tend to be more hard to fill. In the past, it's been sometimes math positions, science positions. More recently, there's been a greater shortage of educators. So sometimes we will see English language arts, but they tend to be more in the sort of STEM related areas and in special ed. Also, some years Spanish immersion or Mandarin immersion, but this year that hasn't been as much of an issue.
Okay. Are there any public comments on this item from the audience? Okay. Peter, can you check up with the Zoom audience, please?
Yes, if there's any members of the audience that would like to make public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand functionality within Zoom now. We have one. Marcella, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. As the district thinks about kind of declaration of need, and it is well known shortage and high need and highly kind of less supported areas. One of the things I'm noticing in the declaration of need is that there are 10 different colleges or universities that participate in internship programs with the district. And I'm just curious about what those relationships look like and where there might be space to strengthen some of those relationships, or maybe consider filtering and thinking about where the strongest partnerships can be built so that there's a more consistent pipeline coming into the district to meet the needs of those areas that we know are going to continue to be a challenge for the school district, because they are for every school district. So yeah, I just happened to notice that there are 10 different colleges and universities that are indicated as internship partners. And I'm really curious about how that can be structured in ways that better support our district. Thanks.
Thanks, Marcella. President Proctor, we have no other hands for public comment.
Okay, thank you. Sue, would you be able to address Marcella's question at all at this time?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and try to address that. We do have different partnerships. Oftentimes universities will reach out to our district when they need to place student teachers or interns, and we try to be accommodating. And I do hear Marcella's suggestion to have more, maybe fewer partnerships, try and build the pipeline. And I think we've tried to go in that direction the past couple of years. And we have been working with San Jose State University, San Francisco State, and Alder. And that's certainly something that we can continue to move forward with versus having, a large number of perhaps not as in-depth partnerships.
Thank you. Are there any board comments on that? Okay, this is an item we need to vote on and approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Thank you, Trustee Chin for the motion and Trustee Watkins for the second. All in favor, please unmute and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that item is approved. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to item 9, board member statements and requests for future agenda items.
Just wanted to circle back to the 2 that I brought up during the agenda items to see if there was, I guess, consensus around bringing those back. One is around the curriculum, teacher support, professional development, kind of those pieces that were raised, and kind of bringing back an overview of kind of what's been newly implemented over the past couple of years, what's slated to be implemented moving forward, and kind of what support and training has looked like. So that's one. And then the other is to bring back some of the information around summer school and summer school programming and data.
I do not have any requests for any future agenda items. I just wanted to make a statement that this past week was actually, it's starting to feel a little bit more normal, I'll just say. Burrell Middle School had their open house last night, and it was fantastic. I want to thank Burrell, Jessica, and all of the teachers at Burrell. It felt really good to be on campus, walking around, seeing the classrooms, stuff that as parents, we didn't get to see last year, or in some ways the year before, but it's a really good feeling. My son also plays sports, and before one of his sports games, there was a 6th and 7th grade dance, which was outside. And I'll just say, walking past that and seeing how happy the kids were, it just was a very good feeling. That even while we're still coming out of the pandemic, there's life. And so it was just a really good feeling. And I know we're in the home stretch. Everyone after spring break is always itching, and we have 7 weeks to go. And but I know we'll get there. So I'm just very hopeful. And again, thank you for everybody for all your hard work. Thank you.
I was thinking about, I feel like it's been a while since we've had like report outs from like the Sanctuary Task Force and the Equity Task Force. So I just want to elevate that, and maybe we can get like an update. Or if I'm just like not remembering, I think there's supposed to be like every once in a while. I don't remember how we used to do it, but maybe we just need to revisit. I know we get like the report outs all the time, but a more formal presentation would be good. And yeah, I actually would like to also just dig into, I think it's like come up for me because my experience with my own son with still needing to reclassify out of English learner status. I'd like to see if we can spend some time on that also. Maybe like a study session, not like a board meeting, but just so we can get some focus on that.
Okay, I don't have any items for the future, but just wanted to again congratulate those new hires and all of the exciting news from tonight. So that is it from me. Anything else from anyone else? Okay. Let me scroll. Okay, number 10 is future meeting dates. They are all listed there. Anything to add? Okay, we're gonna actually go back to closed session and we'll adjourn from there. So good night to everybody else and see you next time.